Hi, Alicia from Future Frequency Astrology here with your July forecast video this time. And yes, it's late. I'm blaming it on Mars retrograde. I'm personally finding it hard even to get out of bed in the mornings. And yeah, lots of things being delayed or put back. There's lots of frustration and a lot of things coming out from under the depths that were unexpected. So, during a retrograde, you can see the dark shadow side of Mars come out. So what happened at the basketball match in the Philippines between the Australian Boomers and the Filipino team is sadly the quintessential essence of this Mars retrograde. It's that, that small ember that starts a raging bushfire, totally not foreseen that it would happen. So yeah, it's a time to really pause and reflect. Mars is in Aquarius, so there is the ability to kind of fly a bit higher right now and take that higher road. But I would say it also means that we may be a bit distracted or further away from the potential consequences of our actions. So yeah, keep an eye out for old fights being brought to light, past patterns of things, old sexual relationships coming up, or being rekindled, and just make sure you're coming from a conscious space in your reaction towards those things. It was a very heavy energy when it first started late last month, and its connection to Saturn and the full moon in Capricorn really made that last few days of June and the first few days of July really heavy. I just find now it has eased a bit, but there's still that feeling of it's just hard to get things done, hard to move forward. Mars rules our motivation, our dynamism, our energy levels to a point. So yeah, just don't expect too much of yourself. Take this as a time to rest, as a time to pause and reflect. Use that Mars in a air sign, think about things, contemplate things. Mars is our passion. It's that thing that gets us out of bed in the morning, that job we love to do, or that person we love to be with, that flame that gets kindled. So yeah, just have a think on that and how that could drive a purpose in our life and what's happening. It's actually a big month of retrogrades. Not only is Mars retrograde until the 27th of August, so yeah, really just plan to keep this winter, for those of us in the south, as a time of pause, and don't make any plans or projects until further down until September. And summer, for those in the north, make it a lazy summer. But joining that as well later this month is Mercury going retrograde as well. Our king of communication. This happens 3 times a year, so it's less. Mars retrograde only happens every couple of years. So it is happening in the sign of Leo. And so there is that. It's those thoughts of creative expression, and this leadership ability that Leo has, the magnetism, Gemini, Mercury in Leo has us really thinking a lot about ourselves and who we are and how we shine out into the world. And what can get caught up in the shadow side of that is ego. So, when Mercury goes retrograde, it's really a time, again, more pause. So even more pause. And this is a time to reflect inwards on our mind and our thinking patterns, and ones that may come from the big I, ego. And perhaps if you can step back and try to be in that place of the little I, that part of ourselves that listens to the voices, that listens to the monkey mind going chat, 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 or listens to the inner critic shaking its finger at us. When we stand in that space, we separate ourselves out from that we don't have to take on or personalize everything that the monkey mind creates or that the inner critic may give out. We can actually separate out and go, no, this is where I have a choice. So, you know, do anything that helps you connect with that little I place, whether it's walks in nature or just time relaxing in nature, can bring you really back to the present. There, you know, meditation, contemplation are good ways of doing this, along with some journaling to help get it out and onto the page. Even things like yoga, things that can help quieten the monkey mind and bring consciousness to a more inner core place of stillness, will really help during this period. So that Mercury retrograde starts on the 25th of July, and it will head right through until next month for a couple of weeks, so the beginning of next month. The other thing that's happening is a planet is actually stopping its retrograde motion, and that is Jupiter. So Jupiter has been in Scorpio since October, 20th of October, and literally that same day was when all the people started to speak out about the Harvey Weinstein stuff, the whole Me Too movement started. It's been getting its hands dirty. It's been digging things up out of the deep, the dark, you know, opening up the closet and letting the light shine in. And it's funny, it's really, you know, I think it's been one of the trickiest Jupiter transits in a while. And it's almost like it's really healing. It's bringing things out of the depths for healing. There is an optimism and a faith and a belief with Jupiter that when it's in that sign of Scorpio, it's like, you know what, I'm going to get my hands dirty because I know it's for the higher good or the greater good. Whereas perhaps before that, it was almost like, oh, I don't want to get my hands dirty because I don't want to be associated with that or tainted with that, or I won't get support, or no one will believe me. Whereas now it's like, okay, I'm going to do it anyway, and I trust that something up there is looking after me, or I trust that the people around me will support me with it. So it has been retrograde for the last few months, been since March really, and it's almost like diving down into the Mariana Trench and wrestling with the demons that are down there, those hidden things that are in the dark. And once it goes direct, it's like, okay, let's bring these things up to the light and really see how bad they are. You know, those gnashing teeth that may have seemed so scary down in the depths actually just turn out to be these small little stubs that couldn't do us any harm. Or in bringing them up from the depths, they disappear, they slide away, they move away from the fight, and no longer become an issue. So, yeah. That happens on the 10th of this month, and it feels like the direct moment is like the light at the end of the tunnel, the healing coming to its fruition. Like, you know, think of a wound that has been scraped and cleaned and cleared, and now it's time to really let it be so it can heal on its own, and the pain is gone, all the infection and everything's been cut away, and it's time now for the healing balms to be left on it, bandaged up, and it can heal itself. So I hope that brings lightness, ease, and some optimism to you all. That's what Jupiter's all about. The other thing that is happening this month to be in with this kind of heavier or pausing of the retrograde energy is a trine in the earth signs, and that happens actually from the day that Jupiter goes direct, so the 10th of July until about the 17th of July, and the moon is going to come in and really highlight that on the 16th of July. So what we're able to do is really ground the changes that we've started to make, and any kind of changes that have happened we're going to have a more realistic view on them, and a sustained future for them. It's like they're going to be grounded and created in reality. Expectations will be more pragmatic, and yeah, it's even a chance to really renew our vows to ourselves, to others around us, while breaking those old habits and those old patterns that were there, so that, you know, it's not like keeping ourselves stuck in the old, but breaking only what needs to be broken so that new things can come on in. And wow, new things are going to come on in, because at that same time, we're going to have the first eclipse of the season. And there's 3 eclipses this season. So it's going to run from the 13th of this month, which is with that new moon in Cancer, and it's going to run through until the 11th of August. So, which is when we have another solar eclipse, which will be on the new moon in Leo. So first off, we've got the new moon eclipse in Cancer. And look, we're going to be expecting some fireworks, full stop. That eclipse in itself is linked to a Saros series called 2 degrees Old North. And that Saros series is actually the one that Prince William was born under. So I, for one, am really interested to see what will be happening with the royal family and Prince William. It may not be something we see come out right now, but you know, it's something we may look at in the time back and think, oh, okay, interesting trigger point for what is going on now. Some astrologers have actually predicted, because this eclipse series is actually coming to an end. You know, eclipse series run for over 1,000 years. So I think this one, it ends in 2036, is the last one of 70-something eclipses over 1,000 years. So from memory, this eclipse series started in 792 AD. So it will be interesting to see what happens for that royal family, and what it means for the future of the monarch of the UK, and the monarchy in general. My feeling is, I also, you know, this one is really about sudden and unexpected breaks in old patterns and traditions. So yeah, depending on which house this falls in, have a look at the house of Cancer. It will be around the themes of that house. So the other thing is that these eclipses are linked to the North Node, which is about the future and what we're moving towards, where we're being invited into. For me, I like to see it as our higher ideals, a way where we can live into our true humanity, rather than the South Node, which kind of keeps us stuck in old karmic past patterns. So this is a way almost for us to create new skills, not leaving behind the old ones that we have, but new ideals, new values, and new principles. How do we choose to live our lives? So yeah, it may be a way for you to really make some shifts and changes in your life around that specific area, so that you can invite newness to really join in your life. Then later on in the month, on the 25th, we have a connection between Uranus and Mars, and this really is fireworks. The sun will have just moved into Leo on the 23rd of July, and then a couple of days later is going to be in alignment with this square between the sun, Uranus, and Mars. What this is going to do, it's going to highlight whatever was going on in mid to late May for us all. This is because that was when Uranus actually started to move into that point. Mars is retrograding, it's going to hit that point, and the sun there too. So things, again, that are sudden and unexpected may be cut from us with Mars, or with Mars retrograde, it's like those hidden tensions that come out from out under the depths. Or it may be that we make sudden breaks to be able to follow our passions and our ideals. Sun in Leo has a warmth, and you think of the sun, it shines on all without giving any judgment. It gives its warmth and light to a weed as well as a flower. So there is that potential with that. What I will say with that is that the good can grow as well as the bad at this time. So be very careful which path you walk down and keep yourself aligned to what is right and real. And then just a couple of days later, on the 28th of July, we have the lunar eclipse that will sit between these two solar eclipses. Now, this lunar eclipse is going to be in Aquarius. So you'll have the moon in Aquarius while the sun is in Leo, and the moon will be highlighting again that point that Mars is at. So there will be a tension with this eclipse, and it will be more of an inner tension that comes from our emotional lives. Moon, lunar is really linked to emotions. So I think it will be more coming from the inner rumblings within us all, that change will happen. If it is in particular affecting specific points in your chart, it will be interesting as well to see how this will play out in the greater world. So I wish you a month of rest, of restoration, of calm and patience while dealing with these retrogrades, and look forward to things beginning to shift up and move as September and October come about.